record again. So again, this event is private, is for our shareholders and partners. Basically, the guy who's trying to join us is our partner in Oman. And we want to share an update of where Uruk is. So I'm going to start with a presentation because I can highlight a lot of points faster in the presentation, and then we do a quick demo. So let me share the screen.
Hello guys, sorry, I was waiting in the wrong room.
Hello, Ali. Do you see the presentation? Somebody tell me yes.
We can see it, Vinny. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, what we're trying to do an update, and I will go through the slides very quickly. In terms of some of the slides I will be very quick because some of you have seen them before. Long-term vision, this is more or less what the structure of the platform will be. And when I talk about long-term vision, that probably we will continue to build as we go along. But basically, if we look at from a commercial marketing perspective, and we've had this discussion before and even a webinar before, we were going toward where we will have a structure that when we sell the platform, we are selling obviously based on, and our marketing messages will have to reflect that, we're selling based on sectors and domain. For example, the capital intensive project, they have their uniqueness. And then within that sector of the capital intensive project, we'll have the uniqueness of the oil and gas versus infrastructure versus utility project, and technology is the same way. So down the road, as we continue to build Uruk, there will be different tailored methods that fit within these kind of structure. And what we see here on the right, on the orange area, these are what I'm calling right now the P3M, which is governance, program management, portfolio management. And these will be add-on so we will sell them as add-on to fit regardless what type of methodology or tailored method you chose or what domain or sector you are in. Right. So if you are in, for example, oil and gas, you'll have your oil and gas tailored method that are specific to your domain. In addition to that, if you want program management or portfolio management or built-in PMOs, these will be additional module that our client can purchase. This is the direction that we are going in. Obviously, what the whole purpose of this slide is to show that this is not something you're going to be done today. It's going to take a few years to build. So what is our progress to date? Let's talk about what we have today. If you log in today and you want to use Uruk, what will you see? And I'll show some of that on the actual platform. We have the functionality to manage the project lifecycle and the stages of a project with one tailored generic method. That's what exists today. And in the near future, we will be adding more tailored method. We have simplified module for stage management. So within, we manage the whole lifecycle and we manage each stage. And to manage each stage, we use something called simplified module because down the road, we will have more advanced module as well. For project management functions such as scope, cost, change, we also have simplified module built in right now. And the reason we did those simplified module is primarily to produce performance chart and dashboard. We have task management, and you can see it in different views, and I'll share with you later. We have a knowledge portal that is open for contribution by users as well. There is one section that any user who's in Uruk anywhere in the world, they can add content to share publicly with everybody. In addition to section that we build, we add ourselves. And again, I will show you all of that on the platform. We have other collaboration among team members, and again, I will share with you. This is what exists. This is just a key highlight of what exists today. So if we talk about project lifecycle, we have a standard model. And when you log into the system, you will see something like this. And this will tell you exactly where you are. So for example, in this picture, it means we have just started the project because we are at the concept stage. And you can see that small red triangle. That means we are at the beginning of it after stage gate 0. That means the project has been added to Uruk. It has been authorized by the sponsor, and the project manager is starting to work on it at that point in time. This is another review of something similar that you will see it on the same screen of Uruk, is basically where you can see the different stages. And in this case, what you can see here is highlighted in orange. That means in this project, we have finished the concept stage. It was approved at gate 1. We have the feasibility study completed and submitted for approval at gate 2. So right now the project is with the sponsor to approve stage gate 2, or reject it and cancel the project, or whatever the case might be. We have just added, and this is went live maybe today, is what we call the stage gate criteria. It's very difficult for us to enter criteria, right? Because every company, every type of project, they might have different type of criteria, but at least we are creating a system where during the onboarding, when a new client joins us, right, and they choose a tailored method, or maybe more than one tailored method, for the tailored method they choose, their admin can go in and enter, if the company, if the organization have standard criteria for this stage gate, they can go and enter them, and they can complete the criteria for all of these gates. That is done usually during onboarding, obviously, or anytime later. Then every time we start a new project, the sponsor will have the ability to go see these default criteria. And if the sponsor see a need to make a change on one of these gate or all of them, the sponsor, obviously, the sponsor ideally is a senior manager, can modify that and adopt. So either the sponsor can adopt the default criteria as is for the new project, or make some modification. So in this case, either way, now we have a criteria for the project we are working on, is what we need to happen at every gate. To manage every stage, ultimately we'll have the advanced module, which is on the left, that will be probably implemented in the coming weeks. Not probably, it will be implemented in the coming weeks. I'm not sure if it will be by the end of April or May. But currently, what we have for every stage, when you log in, you will be able to see the simplified stage management. You will be able to plan the stage, develop the stage deliverable, regardless where you are. You manage and control, and this is a place where you can enter comment. And again, I will show you a real project. And then when you are done with the stage, you can close the stage. The more advanced module is a little bit more cumbersome, but not cumbersome, maybe is the wrong word. It's much more advanced. It has many more formality to it. And you notice we even have what we call process gate. They are not the same as a stage gate, but it's more or less just to confirm that, yes, we do have a project stage management plan. We do have authorization stage by stage. We also have a schedule templates that for every tailored method, we will have a template like this that will be that user can use to start to use it. And obviously they can ignore it if they want to, but at least instead of having to start every project from scratch, we are giving some templates that include the stages and include the stage management processes. So if you zoom in on this picture and this, for example, if you look at requirement stage, you notice there is a plan the stage, develop the requirement, manage and control. The same thing as we saw on in the previous slide, you will have them here. And of course, there are more detailed, depend on the nature of the project. In terms of project management function, so far we have built 9 only, as you can see here. Cost, actually, there is missing, there's on top, it doesn't show. Maybe I just truncated the picture. You have scope management, cost management, schedule management. You can see them here. And there are some more that you don't see here: issue management, task management, performance, captured lesson, project success. All of these are built in right now as simplified modules, meaning very basic. And again, when I say that, I will show you exactly what that means when I log into the platform. We will continue to add in the future, just very basic. And again, the primary reason for this basic module or simplified module is to be able to do project report and to do performance chart. In many companies, and depend on the nature, obviously, especially in capital project, many organizations, they already use system like for change management or cost management or earned value management. So we don't want to replace them. What we want to do, we want to link to them. So right now, what we are doing is a place where you can enter some data to produce a chart. So at least we can use Uruk for reporting to executive management, where management can see everything happening on the project. Task management, you can see them as a list view or a Kanban view or calendar view, just another way of showing how to see the tasks that are happening on the project. Or again, some companies may be using an existing tool outside, that's fine. You can use outside tool if you like. Collaboration based on some discussion we've had in meeting before with Dan, and Dan is with us today. We wanted to put more emphasis on collaboration. And I want to show here that collaboration in Uruk happen at multiple levels. For example, if we are working on a document, in this case, I'm showing a picture of the project requirement document, right? And we have the description of the product, the characteristic of the project, expectations, stakeholder input. There are many more than, I'm not showing everything here, just an example. So each one of these, I call these project management work packages. Each one of these work packages will be assigned to a team member, a task leader, whatever the case might be. And that person will go in and there will be a box here to fill the information. But every team member, everyone that is assigned to the project will be able to see this information. And as you notice here in the bottom left, bottom right of every box, there is a comment box. So for example, this task could be assigned to Munir, but any team member working on the project can go and comment. And then obviously, all of this will be going on, will be working on. You know, different team member might be doing their own. Each team member might be assigned one of these items. Other team member can go and comment. And at the end of the day, when everybody is done, the project manager and the team can sit down, review all the work, revise, edit, and then when they're happy with everything, they will submit that stage deliverable to the stage gate. So there is collaboration in every stage specific to the stage deliverable. So as we work on stage deliverable, the team that is working on the project can collaborate and work on it to produce a stage deliverable. That's one type of collaboration. Another type of collaboration is at the stage gate. We submitted to stage gate, what happened? We also implemented this recently, and this is just probably went live also this week, is that now we have the stage gate criteria. I had mentioned it before. And we have a place where we can enter the decision maker. Before today, the system was that, okay, all what we need for the workflow is the sponsor to go and say, yes, approved at the stage gate. It's still there. We still do that. However, we know that it's not only the sponsor is the one at the stage gate, there will be other decision maker. So here is a place where we can enter the information about the decision maker. So there will be a table reflecting who are the decision maker participating in that gate, right? And then in the bottom left here, stage delivery review, as they are reviewing, if they need to have a discussion, minute of meeting, keep on, discuss, issue, anything, this is a place where they can document everything. And at the end of the day, they review the state, they are reviewing stage deliverable, they have to decide. Either they will approve it, request revision, put it on hold, or reject it and cancel the project. All of this stuff could be happening at the same time. During the gate review. So here it's a collaborative process as well that is happening at the gate with the decision maker, right? While we are developing the stage deliverable, team members are collaborating to produce a stage deliverable. At the gate, management and the decision maker are collaborating to approve the gate. In addition, right, and we have, based on some comment from Dan as well, to make this collaboration or the comment or the chat more visible, we put it in the menu now. So when you go into the top side of the menu, you will have this the chat symbol. And in there, you can access team chat. As you notice here, there is a new group chat, if you can see it. So basically, it's like on WhatsApp or any other place, we can create a group. And the group could be for the whole project or maybe for the stage. So basically, in this group, we will enter the people who belong. So if you want to have a private discussion in a smaller group, and that could be within a stage or on a given project, you create that group And then the team member will be able to chat there and exchange notes and collaborate. And this could be accessible from anywhere in the platform, regardless what you're working on. It's not linked to a stage deliverable. It could be just general open discussion with any team, or you can chat with everybody in the organization, and you can put comment there with anybody in the organization, sorry. We also have what we call community discussion, and that's what you see is a symbol here. And that is basically when you do that, you are communicating with anyone, any user in Uruk from your company or any other company. So all users of Uruk worldwide will be able to go and chat. I mean, usually not chat, they're more like they can post a discussion. Maybe somebody looking for help from the community, they can put a post requesting help. Or they maybe have a case study they want to share. Of course, sharing public, right? They will have to hide the confidential information so they don't expose any private information. But again, this is an ability to create a community of practice or a user, I guess, an Uruk user group, something like this. So these are the type of collaboration that exists. Again, everything I'm showing you exists today. That brings us to the question I know we've been having a lot of debate on. Is Uruk ready? Where are we? Can we start selling or not? And here, this is what drove us to come up with the idea of the sectors and domain, right? For capital intensive projects, these are usually large and complex projects costing millions of dollars. Uruk is not yet ready. I mean, it could be used by those people, but it's not really ready the way we like it. We're not comfortable selling this to oil and gas or hotel companies or anything like this yet. What do we need before that? We need to create the method for large and complex project. That could be generic method first, and that is going to happen in the second quarter this year, so it's coming up. Then we need to customize the method for capital intensive project, and the idea is maybe for oil and gas, Dan and I can collaborate on this. Amr and I have been already collaborating on a version for hotel or technically real estate development. So those kind of large complex project method that we could be developing in the coming weeks and months. And then there will be some additional stuff to add, performance charts, some analytics. There is more work to be done, quite a bit of work. So it's not like something would be done within a week or two, in order to feel, for us as a team, to feel comfortable that, yes, now we feel comfortable to go talk to companies who are in this sector. However, for general business projects, small to medium project, even software project, Uruk is ready today, and we are already using it. And I'm using it now on a project that is, which is the project that we are working on right now for development of the next step of Uruk. We are treating that as a project, and I'm using Uruk for that, and it's working quite nicely. And I can share with you when we get to the demo in a minute. Just quick update on the milestone coming up. In the first quarter, well, it's almost finishing tomorrow, but within a week or two from now, we will have flexible development. What does it mean? That means you can go into Uruk, and for a generic project, you can follow what we call the Big Bang development, that meaning like a house or something. That means the product will be delivered in one batch, one piece at the end of the project. Or you can have iterative incremental development. That is development on this starting actually today. We talked about it. Tomorrow morning, the team will start working on this software-wise, development-wise. So within a couple of weeks, we will have version ready. So we will move from what we have today, one tailored method, to having two tailored methods. One is for Big Bang and one for iterative incremental. Meaning one traditional, if we're going to use the common language we see today online, we will have one that follow traditional method and one that follow agile. Then we will be adding other methods for example, micro project. These are the tiny project that could be, you know, maybe 2-3 people working on a project for a month or two. We will have large and complex project as well. And then in parallel to, you know, in parallel to that, we will be working on the capital intensive project that I had mentioned. So sometime in the second quarter to early third quarter, we should have something ready there. And then we'll continue into other work. That's a rough schedule for what's coming up. In terms of performance chart, there's maybe nothing to cover here. I will cover it in the demo. This is a good place to pause. If you have questions, I can answer them before we go to the next part.
Munir, I have a question. When we talk about collaboration on the stage level, when we have the criteria that you put it as a criteria for decision makers or all this area, my question is, like, when we are in this area of collaboration, how is the Uruk will be functioning? You know, like, are we supposed to be waiting for the stage gate decision maker to approve all of them to be to approve on this stage to allow the project manager or project team to move forward to the next stage of the project? How does that work?
It's not all of them. The question is that they're not all of them. So it's not like there will be 10 people waiting to sign, right? In terms of Uruk will have one signature, which is not one signature, one click, right, from the sponsor to say project is, I mean, the stage gate is approved or rejected, right? The discussion at the collaboration stage gate is happening in discussion with the team. Now, if it's a very small project, it could be the sponsor only. You will no need for any decision maker other than the sponsor. In other projects, there could be 2, 3, 4, 5, or 10 decision maker. So they will have to have a meeting, stage gate review meeting, typically. And many large projects, we have steering committees. The steering committee will meet and they will discuss. And at the end of the day, they will have to make a decision. And when they make that decision, the sponsor, as their representative, will go in and then click approve. And then, yes, in that case, the project manager, right now, it is depend on where you are. Yeah, you cannot proceed. I mean, you can still, and this is why it's very important. And this is one of the criticism of stage gate. Some people think it is the bureaucratic process. Well, if to me, if an organization is bureaucratic, right, even if you have one gate on the project is going to be bureaucratic. This is why it's very important for management to understand that decision making is happening. It needs to happen quickly and promptly, right? So, and that part of the culture of the organization that we will be promoting as Uruk. If management going to take 2 months to decide, then definitely Uruk, as the way it's designed, it will not work, right? Because the project manager is sitting around and the team doing nothing, right? So while the management, I mean, obviously, if a decision taken 2-3 days, the project manager could still be doing things, could be still preparing for things, or maybe closing. Remember, we close the stage, right? Every stage we need to close, but usually after the gate is approved. So the project manager could be working, I mean, and in many situations, the project manager could be working multiple projects. So decision-making, it has to be efficient, otherwise, again, it's a problem. Yeah. But Uruk cannot fix the culture issue of organization. We can promote it. Then,
so as long as you said, like, it's one person who's going to be giving the approval for the stage gate, which is the sponsor, not all these decision makers, that makes sense.
No, be careful. All decision makers collectively are saying yes or no.
Yeah, yes.
The sponsor is the only one who will go in Uruk and click.
Yes.
So if these guys are arguing or debating or they're not deciding, the sponsor cannot go and click.
Yeah, it's clear, but it's like eventually it's one person work where to click to allow the.
Yeah, but that's not the problem usually. Now, that's the problem usually is the decision making. If if these people want to do analysis paralysis, whatever the case might be, that's the problem we see. Is not usually the problem is not the ability of someone to go and click. Any other question or comment, Dan?
Yeah, Munir, not to slow you down, I'm excited about the demo. Brilliant overview there. The initial product slide you could almost just retitle that as sort of the executive summary when you that was a great slide to put in front of a prospect. I really thought that was very good. It in a concise way described the value prop of the product. On your PM functions, it still scares me a little bit when we talk about all the different functions, and I think it's just messaging. You know, for me, I think the value is that you're consolidating the output from all the various PM functions: cost, schedule, risk, EV, blah 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 blah, and you're consolidating the output into a one-stop shop. And I think that's super compelling versus we're trying to be an EV engine or a scheduling engine. Okay. So that was cool. And then great changes on the collaboration too. I think you've made really good progress on simplifying the collaboration and having it common in the top nav. You might, and not to get into the details in this, but you might want to consider merging, if you could merge the community button with the team org, so that you've got your org and your team groupings within that one piece. You might be able to just embed the community in there as well, so that you don't have two different entry points. But again,
that's a very good
discussion.
Point. Yeah, we consider it, but we were afraid of people making the mistakes and then going out and posting something on the community that they shouldn't be posting.
Sure, and we can talk through some ways of providing safety nets so that people don't do that. But I think having a single point of access for all things collaborative, and maybe you have a 3-node tree that's community group or org and then teams, whatever. So, but yeah, great.
And we decided to keep it separate right now because, again, we were concerned that people might. And so now, even when you go to community discussion, we are putting a flag in there to say that be careful, you are going now off your site. You're going basically to share. So basically, just to make sure, just another warning, because we don't want people start posting confidential information and then come back and say, you guys did not give us any safety precaution for that.
I think from a messaging perspective, what you're providing in that collaboration feature is context-aware collaboration. A text message thread, there's no context. You're just responding. But I think here you're almost allowing team members and contributors to redline the entities within the software, because you're providing feedback against whether it's a stage gauge or all the various entities. And I think that this concept of collaboration, it's context aware within the product.
Okay.
You mentioned at the end of the project, you look back and do your lessons learned and all that good stuff, knowing that chat message 17 was linked to or in context of, stage gate 3 or whatever it is in the project, I think is compelling.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that definitely there's a lot of room to improve still. I mean, these are right now the very basic early version. Okay, great. Anything else?
Great.
Yeah,
just a quick thought on your description of project management. We changed the terminology that PMI was using to knowledge areas in 1996 because a lot of people looked at the previous functions as being departmental units. Yeah. I'm not sure that usage is quite so prevalent today. And I'm not saying I necessarily change it, but just something to be aware of.
Yeah, I am aware of that. And I mean, that's why sometimes we talk about the differentiating between organizational function versus a project management function. This is why often when I use the term function, I don't use it on its own. It's always associated with the term project management functions. Okay. But yes, definitely the room for confusion there. But we couldn't figure out any other term because knowledge area, I know PMI uses this, ISO uses subject, right?
Yeah.
So the challenge is that there are always some terminology we are trying to avoid using, like charter. I avoid using charter because people automatically link it to PMI. So yeah, I think down the road, we need to have a real deep look at the terminology and then to see if some terminology makes sense to change it. Like, for example, when I was using vertical, based on the recent discussion night, I'm using sectors and domain, right? So yeah, I agree. But again, I try to avoid using function on its own because I know when I hear, even when Bill, as well, when you use the word change, right? People said, okay, I'll be talking about project change or organization change. There are tricky terms right there. We always have to provide the right context. Otherwise, it creates confusion. Agree.
Yep. Okay.
And again, Munir, not to get into the weeds in this session, when you talk about those PM functions, whether we call them knowledge areas or whatever, for me, it's like, it's almost like an executive summary of the DNA of the project. You know,
Yeah.
because for me, it's a characteristic, is what a DNA is. And that DNA reflects time, cost, quality, uncertainty, progress, all of the discipline areas, those knowledge areas. It's like the DNA view.
That's a good point. And I like the term you used earlier, consolidation rather than, so I will improve on the wording as I go through that.
Yeah.
Let me go onto the system now. And again, I cannot do a full demo because it takes a long time, but at least I can share the key feature. This is obviously sign in because I'm already signed out. And I'm signing in right now as a project manager. And one of the changes we've made recently is that the system will take me back to where I was. Before it was, you go back, it's like you just got into Uruk. Now at least it remember where I was before I logged off and bring me in. But let me say that I don't know where I am. One of the things I want to work on project, so I can go, we have simplified the left menu as well, right? So right now, I want to manage a project. So when I want to manage a project, if I want to go to home, and home will tell me that, look, I can do one or two things, right? I can either start a new project or I can manage an existing project. So if I want to manage an existing project, then now because I had selected one, keep it in the memory until I change it. So let me go and select a project, and I'm going to select this project. This is a real project that I'm working on now, right? So I want to manage an existing project, right? And let me go to, in that case, what do I want to do? I want to manage the PLC, or I want to go to the function, or I want to go to some supporting action. So let's say I'm going to manage. And you notice right now, quickly, if you look at the top picture here, it clearly tells us that I am right now in the implementation stage. This is a project that we are working on right now. We have done all the stages before, and now we are in the implementation. And if you look down below here, you will notice the same thing. Now, because gate 5 is approved, this is a special situation where we have two stages are open in parallel. We have the operational readiness stage open. I can work on it. I have on this project, I have not worked on it, but I also have the implementation stage. Now, before I go there, let me quickly show you, for example, the concept stage. The concept stage produced the project brief, and this is a project brief. So now you can see we have the problem opportunity, what, we have the solution, we have the description of the product, we have a justification. So this is more like the project brief, which include in our approach the business case, right? Because the justification is here. I can, because this is done already, I cannot change it. I can export it, right? I mean, I can change it with a change if I want. If I go let me go to the requirement stage. All of them look the same, right? The same thing. I have the requirement document as a key deliverable here, and then here you go. They are whatever note I wrote. Everything is here. So this is a consolidation of every stage deliverable. Everything we're doing is here. Now, obviously, in this case, I'm the only one working on this project, so this is why there are no comments. All the comments are not. I mean, no one was commenting. Now I am in the implementation stage. And you will notice that when I go into the implementation summary, is that a place I can enter data. And you notice that this is still, if you can see below, it's saved as a draft, but it's not submitted. I can save it as a draft. I can work on it. I can leave it. I can come back to it. And then I can fill this item here. However, the way I'm using this is that, let me go back one step and one more step. You notice we have the stage management, right? So we planned the stage, obviously the stage already planned, and then we are developing the stage deliverable, and I can manage and control. And I'll show you what I'm doing. In managing control right now is very simplified. It's just basically a place where I can go and put notes. So as I work on this project, for example, you notice the first note I added here There was a captured lesson. I learned something. I missed something before. So it's a captured lesson for me. I entered it here, right? Because I still don't have a place. Now I have a spreadsheet for that, right? And at the end of the project, I can upload the spreadsheet for all captured lessons. Then a week later or so, I captured another lesson, right? And then I had to change. Yeah, and the change, even though I'm the only one working on the project, it's something we want to do different than what I had when I had done the plan is different. So this is a place where I'm capturing, is like a journal of what's happening on the project day to day in the stage. And obviously in every stage, you have the same thing. So this is now in the system. Now, if I go to PM function, let me show you what we have here. Actually, not hide. Typically, if you want to see the whole thing, then I included here some description because not everybody might have this similar terminology or similar agreement on how we define these terms. So we have a section here that is more of a description. And once a new user will read it once and twice and said, now I know it. I don't need to see it anymore. I just hide it. Sorry, I had the description. I don't need to see it anymore. I know it. And then we have another box, a group here that this is information that is about the project. And again, this will be, if we publish this as a report, it will show. Then again, okay, now I know I don't need to see it. Then what we have here, this is a place where we can enter the work packages, or we can upload them as an attachment. But what's important here, what we are doing is that what you see below, right? This is because I have decided that I'm going to do weekly report on this project. That's why you see here the word weekly data. If we have decided in the communication plan that the data will be monthly, then this will be monthly data. And then basically, as you noticed, I start to manage this project from February 11. And at that time, I had added 7 work packages. And then on the week of the 18th, or the week ending on the 18th, I added 6 more work packages. And the week of the 25, I added 8 more. And notice after that, 0. That means we're done. I've done all my definition. I have designed my project. I have uploaded all the work packages, which are there 21. But nothing was completed because before we were only design. Now we have the development team is working, and last week or 2 weeks ago, they finished 5 work packages. So now we have 5 work packages, right? So all that information go to the chart. So obviously I'm managing this work outside Uruk, right? This development team using Sprint and Scrum and something called UTrack. I'm just summarizing the data here. I'm consolidating the data here so we can produce the chart. If I go into the cost area, allow me to enter the estimate information. So basically, if I have done 3 estimates, it allows me to enter the estimating information here. You can see them, estimate 1, estimate 2, estimate 3. And then it will tell me what is the approved plan cost, what is the current forecast, what is the project management cost. Right now, I'm not capturing project management costs, this is why it's 0. And the same format, I can add every week, notice here every week. So today, this Friday, I will add 1 more data entry. And then I will enter the latest information, which is meaning what? The project management cost, right? The project management, and I can show you actually. If I want to add a new, basically I have to put the report date, and then project management cost per the approved plan. So when I approve the plan, my project management cost was say $5,000. I'll enter it here. What is my forecast of my project management cost? I will put it here. What is my project cost per the approved plan, which is the budget, or for those who use earned value management, that technically is the BAC. And that was my forecast, right? And I go to team management. Basically, I'm reporting who are the team member, and we can assign, if one of them, I can assign some of them, this is new, we added. Maybe on big project, the project manager need help. So the project manager might choose that, look, for maybe this stage, I want to assign team leader. So we assign a stage leader who have the same authority of the project manager, but for that stage. So that is a feature is there. We also have a handover process. So let's say if the project manager is changing, the sponsor is changing, or any team member is changing, we can activate the handover process. So basically we can capture the information that need to be handed over to the new team member. So that's in the system already as well. And the same thing we have, and notice handover submitted right now, we have no handover. So the table shows 0. And if it does, if we have handover, it will show here. And then, of course, it will show the active team member on the project. I'm showing 2 here just so we can, have something to chart. And the same thing for all of the other, for the all other function. We have team management, we have stakeholder, we have communication management. All of them, like for example, if I go to uncertainty management right now, all what we are doing here is just a counter. Right? We don't have the log. We can, obviously down the road, soon we can add the log for that. If a company does not have a change management process. So because here is a challenge, and this is why we went with the idea of sector and domain. If I work for an oil and gas company, I'm sure I probably have a cost estimating, cost control, scheduling, risk management. I'll probably have all these tools available for me and I'm using them. And all I need here is just to consolidate the data here. However, one thing we have to consider is that if I work on company that does not have a formal process for project management, they might need more help than what I'm giving them here. So we might add maybe a change log, an issue log, something like this. And we can add them as Excel file initially, and then later on we can create table for them. And then again, every user, every company, they have the choice of using them or not using them. What we group under supporting function are basically issue management, project success, captured lesson. Again, if I look at captured lesson, let me hide this. The same thing as a table we'll enter for the chart. Basically, all of that bring us to a performance chart. We've been struggling with this because, apparently the software the guys are using, it have some limitations. So we are not able to do the chart exactly the way I like them yet, but at least we have, and I have them ordered here in a certain sequence. Obviously, this is a project cost index as of today. It tells us where we are. If I want to look at the trend of the project cost index, that's basically showing we have been reporting 100%, obviously no change. But last week, I showed a different number, mostly to show the data, to present the data, because I don't have an accurate forecast yet for my project. Same thing for the duration index. For example, if the duration of the project is getting longer, we have a completion date. So when we look at schedule, we look at 2 variables. We look at duration and we look at completion date. Right? Now, this chart looks ugly right now and it doesn't have much information, primarily because we missed estimate 2. We didn't do estimate 2. If we have done estimate 2, then what you will see here, you will see one bar that shows the change between estimate 1 and estimate 2. And then another bar that shows a change between estimate 2 and estimate 3. And this bar will show the change between the estimate 3 and approved plan, assuming we are working on a project where we are doing these 3 estimates. And this will be great later on for tool making and for continuous improvement, right? Because if it will show me, especially at the portfolio level, if it show me how is the estimate changing between estimate 1 and estimate 2 and estimate 3 in the approved plan and then forecast. And the bottom 3, there are 7 items here or 6. The bottom 3 here, this will be done at the end of the project. When we are ready to close, we can also have how does the final cost compare to estimate 1, to estimate 2, and to estimate 3 or the approved plan. So again, this tool can tell me, if I'm a manager, how is my project doing? But this is not powerful enough on a project. It will be more powerful when we have it for the portfolio, because then we can see that traditionally in this company we have done 20 projects, and most of the time we are seeing like 50% change on average between estimate 1 and estimate 2. That means that is an area where we have a problem. We need to zoom in and find out why are we seeing 50% change between estimate 1 or 2 or estimate 2 and 3. Okay, what is missing from our tools? what do we need to improve in order to improve that level of accuracy. So some of these charts are good to see on the project level, but they are more powerful on the portfolio level. Issue resolution as well. Basically, if you have issues, and then that's a quick view here. Obviously, for many of these metrics, we are looking at them either as a trend line, so to see how is it happening over the project life, or at the report time, we see it in a donut shape. Same thing with change management, change resolution, net cost impact of the change, net duration impact of a change. And I don't know if anybody knows this term, absolute cost impact. Anybody knows or want to input on what does it mean? What this mean? This is rarely used in my past life in project management. I've rarely seen this chart being done. Anybody want to jump in? Like, what's the difference between net impact and absolute impact? Okay, I'll give you a quick. Sorry, somebody who?
Yeah, this is Ali. I just hope it's not on PMP exam.
It's never on the PMP exam.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, net impact is basically sometimes, on project we could have changes that add cost and changes that or cost or duration and changes that might reduce cost or duration, right? That's net. So the net, the plus and minus cancel each other. So if I have a change that add $2 and a change reduce $1, then my net impact is $1, right? Because that is a change on my budget or the change in my forecast. However, the absolute impact considers something that CII have done, the Construction Industry Institute, which said, look, changes are disruptive, even though if they are negative, they are still disruptive, right? So if you want to really look at the true impact of changes, you need to look at the absolute value. So basically, if I have a change that adding $2 and a change is reducing $1, the absolute impact is 3, not 1, right? I know not many people use this. Again, work package statusing here, capture lesson, active team count, active stakeholder count, number of threats and opportunities, the ratio of the threat to opportunities. And I think that's probably enough. One more, sorry. Now, if I want to look at summary of this, and then I can do a summary, quick summary, that where we have selected some of the key one, and obviously you can zoom in. But basically what you notice here is that as the things get longer, and bigger, you will be able to zoom in or out from here. You will be able to, we can add comment. If you want to add comment, we can add comment here, right? I think I've covered most of the point I want to cover in this demo, and some of the changes. And this is why I said earlier, for a lot of the standard typical day-to-day project, like the project I'm using it on right now, obviously it's giving me a lot of what I want, and at least I can start to document. So for me, all the future Uruk, all the project that we are working on right now in SUKAD or Uruk, we will be using this. Down the road, and down the road, I mean this year, we'll be adding the program management module. And for those things that are considered program, we will also build them here. So effective already, the history of SUKAD project is here.
That's great. So Munir, this is Dan. I've played with the product, not blindly, but I've gone in and used the product myself. Having that overview, the walkthrough you just gave was super insightful. I think, again, if I had to bubble up the overarching value prop or the message that you just walked us through, I think what it is the tool is allowing team members to provide both metrics, but also what I would call metadata, and hold that thought. Metrics and metadata, you throughout the life cycle of the project, through the stages, and then you're able to consolidate those metrics and metadata in your reporting. The metrics are capturing cost and schedule, blah, 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 at each of the stages. The metadata was a lot of data entry. There was a lot of text stuff, which is great. You know, you had the project summary and charter and the notes where people enter text. For me, that's decorating the metrics with metadata. It's giving you, again, context around the metrics. So I think it's unique. I think it's very compelling that this is it's a means by which you can have a consolidated view, but it's more than just showing the numbers. The metrics are important in the dashboards, right? The dashboards are the numbers, but having that meta context aware that the input from the team members, I think, is really valuable. I know we talked about this previously, but that text entry, it would be wonderful if it was rich text and not just text, so that I could copy paste images, hyperlinks, color, doesn't matter. But again, that's a product discussion, so we don't need to get into that. And then on the dashboards, dashboards are really hard to make look pleasing or sexy. Just simple tricks, like you've got 3 colors in your logo. You've got the off yellow, off blue, and dark red. Maybe just adopt that color palette for each of the charts so that it looks very branded. Just little things like that make a big difference in a software product.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to figure out, because the guys right now, they're still using an open source kind of charting tool. I need to be working with them to see how much they can control over it.
Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely go the open source route. You don't want to have to reinvent a charting component, but absolutely, you need to skin those charts with your brand color palette, and that will make them look much more sort of naturally part of the product. But again, I would strongly consider and really emphasize this whole, it's like metrics plus metadata equals insight. I think that's what this thing brings to the table.
That's a good one, plus metadata.
Well, we need something stronger than just insight, because it's like unique insight or something like that. But it's the combination of the metrics, and it's time phased, right? Because those time phased charts, it's really hard to do that outside of a tool like this. You know, people don't take snapshots of a schedule monthly, or et cetera, et cetera. So having this is that capture mechanism, and you're driving people to capture through the stage gates, which is great, because then you're hanging the metrics and the metadata against each of those stages. You're naturally building a timeline in the product.
Yeah. And one thing I did not say though, some of these charts will be active from day one, but some of these charts might not be active until gate 5, which means in the delivery phase. I want to change that. Like, for example, change management. Right now, most organizations do not do change management until we have an approved plan and we are implementation. Ideally, I like to capture changes from day one, right? So that is something that is a future. Right now, might be, that might be too complex for people. So I'm avoiding that. But in the future, technically, everything I showed, it could be done at the stage level and at the project level. And it will be for the large and complex project. Yeah, like for example, I am managing the engineering phase. I need to see the data for that engineering phase.
I would err on the side of let the user base decorate, whether it's metadata or metrics at any stage, and let them figure out, if they don't want to do change at the concept phase, no problem, but I wouldn't limit them. I wouldn't try and predict what they can and cannot do by stage. I would let them just figure it out.
Yeah, very good point there.
Just great, Manette. This is really good. Really good insight.
Yes, Dan, I agree with your idea of giving the freedom to the organization to decide what feature, what time they want to use, and open it up for them to decide. Yeah, this is a good time to put change management entries as early as possible in the project lifecycle versus keeping it till where typically changes happen. So I see that. I think that will that will also enhance the lessons learned. That will enhance the forecasting as well.
Yeah, but by the way, guys, let me just be careful, right? Because most of the stuff is done outside the system today. User can do that today, right? because what we are consolidating the data in Uruk. So for example, if you tell me we have 5 changes on the project, I don't know from Uruk that those changes happen in the implementation stage or happen earlier.
So,
right?
the
Because
most
right now we're not managing
successful-
change inside the platform.
I still would err on the side of let them do it if they want to, Munir, because the most successful software products are those products that we want to live inside as long as possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's great that you can pull in external data, but you know, I think the light bulb moment for users is going to be when they go, you know what, instead of me managing my risks in Excel or in Acumen Risk, you know what, I'm going to start using Uruk.
Correct.
Okay, I'm a bit uncomfortable making the leap, but as soon as people start making that pivot to doing stuff rather than just reporting in your tool, then you're off to the races.
Dan, this is exactly the idea, the difference between what we call the simplified PM function and the advanced PM function. Right now, we provided the simplified so we can consolidate the data, right? But later on, we can do some addition to these things. Like for example, have the change log, right? Have a risk form. But the problem there is that if we want to go to highly advanced, and basically, for example, for change management, we need to put the whole workflow and process, it becomes quite comprehensive. If this is needed, we will do it. Remember, and that's what I was saying from the beginning, and I was misunderstood. For all this PM function, we either build it in or link it outside.
So again, Munir, if you go what I call the rich text route for all that data entry versus just text, you're sort of band-aiding the issue there, because if people want to, if you give them the ability to paste in rich text, they can literally paste in tables, videos, imagery, text, links, documents, and let them be the constraint from a creativity perspective rather than the product.
Yeah, I agree with you there. But what I'm saying, for example, if I want to do change management in Uruk, right? I can give them the form, I can give them the table, I can give them the ability to enter the data, but unless I put a workflow, like for example, who initiates the change, who needs to review the change, become a mini project by itself. That is more advanced, right? And right now, that's what I'm saying, maybe we don't need to do now, but what you are saying on the all the comments you have gave me before, I've captured them. As you notice, I've implemented some of them, and some of the others, we are basically waiting to implement them as we start with the new project. But right now, because we gave the guys a heavy load of what the future of Uruk need to look like, and they might need to do some refactoring and some redesign of their code to be ready. We have not been giving them all the enhancement yet. I'm just giving them the critical enhancement. But the rich text, it's there. Your other comment that you gave before, you notice we simplified the last menu, right? I don't know if we can simplify it further. There are, I mean, continuous improvement. I still have at least 100 enhancements on my list, and this is not to include all the new future. What the guys are working on immediately, starting tomorrow, is to add flexible development. So basically, as I mentioned, in 2 weeks, whether you want to manage projects the traditional way or the incremental iterative way, you will have 2 tailored methods in the system. You can go either route. That is in a week or 2. Later on, they're going to add the stage management that is per the camp model. I know Bill probably remember from my book, we had like 60 processes there for the stage management. We will build them there. So there will be, for the larger stages, every stage will become like a mini project. And then we need that for the large and complex project. Then the next step will be the large and complex project. This will be happening within the next 2 months.
I want to go back quickly to Dan's comment about that I basically interpreted as giving the users maximum flexibility. Let them use what they want, let them ignore what they don't want. And I'm not sure whether this is a question or a comment, but it seems to me that there might be a thread of some minimal requirement for each user. For example, the simplest way to think of it is every project has to have at least 1 stage. you can't have a project with 0 stages. It's simply not possible.
Correct.
So is 1 in fact the minimum, or is 2 or 3 the minimum? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Probably you want to have a project brief, and a project brief is really the same as a project charter in terms of its functionality. Do you want to set it up so that each of the methods requires you to have a project brief, but allows you to change the name to project charter if you want to? And that's kind of what I'm thinking of in terms of, I don't think we want to go so far into allowing total flexibility
No,
that, or I'm thinking we don't, that we would allow a user to implement a totally incompetent process.
absolutely.
You know, if we're saying we're here to help you improve, and we simply let you improve the shitty approach that you've been using for the last 10 years. So there's some balance between those. I'm not exactly sure where that balance is.
Yeah. Years ago, in one of my editors was reviewing one of my books. I was writing someplace you can use this or that. I don't know, maybe you, Bill. Somebody made a comment, said, Munir, you need to be the authority here. If you are giving a method, you need to give them an answer. You cannot leave it wishy-washy, right? So whenever we are, and that philosophy has been in my mind all along. So whenever it comes to customization, and I think we had that discussion before where we draw the line. There are certain things that are principle, we cannot allow changes. There are the principle concept, right? And there are basically the flexible. Like, for example, you want to change the name, that flexibility will be there, and that could be done very quickly, right? If you want to change to eliminate the sponsor, now that is something we might not be willing to allow. Right?
Munir, you might want to look at it. You might. It's a, I think, great point, Bill. I think we could solve it by looking at the problem in reverse. Look at the output that you get from the tool and go, okay, what is the minimum amount of stuff that this thing needs to output for this to make a project better than not using the software?
Yeah.
And then go, okay, those things, the minimum list of stuff then becomes a mandatory on the inputs, whether it's charter or description, whatever. You know, it might even be simple cost. I don't know what those elements are, but come up with a minimum set of things that provide goodness by using the tool, and lock those down as you have to populate those.
Yes. And for example, I'll give you an example of that, how we are doing that. For example, on large capital project, we typically do 3 estimate in the front end, right? I made all project, you can do 3 estimate. So there are features for 3 estimate, but you can skip 2 if you have to, right? So you cannot get the project approved. When you get to the project final approval, you cannot get the final approval. You cannot even submit the detailed plan for approval unless you have at least 1 estimate done. So this is an example of where we put some restriction and we left some flexibility. Ideally, we are saying, look, you need to do 3 estimate or 2 estimate if you are a very tiny project, right? However, as a minimum, you must do 1. So, you know, if you choose to do that. So there are, yes, there are places where, to us, like Bill said, there has to be stages, right? So a project life cycle cannot be 1 stage, okay? Ideally, what we think is the simplest project has to be 4 stages as a minimum, okay? And then we have the gates, right? Now, what later on we might decide that, okay, some of the gate we can be more flexible on than others. These are some of the key decisions that probably that might require a good task force where we come together as a team and then go deep dive into every element, said, okay, what can we do? Whenever we need to start talking about customization, what should be flexible, what shouldn't be flexible, what should be totally open, what should have some restriction. Right now, I'm doing a lot of stuff based on my experience, based on my history of the good, the bad, and the ugly, as you know, we often, Bill and I talk about this. Like, for example, one thing I insisted in camp is that in my past, I was working on I was assigned to an alliance contract, and we have a lot of projects. And one day, you know, somebody brought boxes and boxes to my office. Said, what is this? Said, all these are all the projects we finished in the last 5 years. We never close. So they're asking my team, which was a newly formed team, to close project that we've never been involved in for 5 years. So if you notice, we put a stage gate at the end of closure. They're basically saying, look, your project is not finished until you close. Even until management said, yes, the project, the PLC is ready to close. And not even the project is not closed yet, but the PLC is ready to close. And we put a gate on that. And that's based on some of the lessons learned we've written in the past. So yes, I mean, that's obviously a lot of the stuff right now is one-man thinking, but we are incorporating a lot of comment and feedback we've received over the years, whether when I was writing the book and we had many people review the first book and the second book, and also from other things that we have learned. It has been a challenge, but I think it's coming along. Other question, comments? We are about 10 minutes out of the time, but if needed.
Pretty good to me.
Excellent. Bill, good news. The engine of project success, it looked like it's surviving. For those who don't know, Bill directly and indirectly over the years had an impact. For those who know CAMP version 1 versus the CAMP that we have today, when we changed from CAM to P to CAM-MP, that's Bill. We used to have the first stage, we used to call it something different, and then Bill came back and said, why don't you do D3, discovery? And he used design, I think, for GPM and delivery, and we have discovery, development, and delivery. So the slogan we had been using, the project of success, I was using the engine of applied project management, and Bill had changed. And Dan is a new advisor with us. And some of the changes that I discussed today, it actually came from initial meeting with him. Amr, I don't know if Amr is still there. Amr has already worked, he's working on hotel project, and he has given me actually a tailored method for hotel project. And basically that will be one of the tailored method that we will do after we do the large and complex project. So yes, a lot of this was based on my old books, but over the years, we've had a lot of input and help from our colleagues. And now Bill is, and Dan are official advisors with us. For those who are new to us, they haven't met them before. Ali here, Ali is, I'm still waiting on Ali to sign. He will be our first official Uruk Business Network partner handling Oman and getting his foot also in Kuwait and Qatar possibly. So he will probably be the first one to sign with us, and looking for more. Thank you guys.
My first contribution was when Monir wanted to call it CAM, the number 2 and the letter P instead of CAMMP. And I said, you can't do that because people are going to read it as came to P.
And the initial version was that, and then we changed it after that. Yeah, this is why since then I avoid using anything that was PP behind each other. The 2 Ps. Yeah.
Maybe I missed the couple first 2 minutes, but I have a question about the roadmap for. Now I know program management is this year. Is portfolio management as well? Is Q1 next year?
The big question right now, we're trying to get the team.
Hi, Dan. Dan's got to go.
Yes, thank you everybody who's leaving. I can stay for whoever have any more question. Thanks for attending. Ali, the idea is that once I have the team comfortable with the program we are working on, with the different tailored method, and part of the scope of the project we are working on right now is to develop something called tailored method builder. That will make it very easy for us to build tailored method based on the run very quickly, right? So once the team is comfortable with all of that, and we close round 3 of funding, we secure some additional funds, right, then most likely we will launch another development team in parallel. And now, before we do that, Sandra and Bill and I have been talking about forming a mini task force to work on portfolio management. So ideally, once I get the team in Lebanon right now comfortable with the work of the scope of the project we are working on right now, so sometime maybe around June, July timeframe, potentially Bill and Sandra and I and maybe other will mobilize our task force, and maybe we'll go meet somewhere and to start to develop. We already have the outline of the portfolio management based on Munir, right? Sandra have a lot of expertise in this, and obviously Bill have been teaching project and management all over the world for many, many years. And anybody else who can input to that, we will look at what we have done before, modify it, so we can create a blueprint to mobilize a second development team to start developing that. So potentially it could be end of summer, we could have another team in place to work on that. But again, that require funding, right? Because right now we're very restricted on fund. We need to secure more funding to allow us to create two teams in parallel.
I see. There are opportunities in the local market. There are government organizations, there are private sector organizations looking into the portfolio management solutions. So
yeah,
there might be funding available through private projects.
If there is, will be great. And by the way, I mean, it will be following the same principle we're following right now. It will be incremental, right? Right now we have, in my original design, I have 11 modules for portfolio management. And I divide portfolio management into portfolio planning, portfolio control, and project data. A lot of them could be done very quickly. Like, for example, creating the project parking lot, right? Basically a tool where we can have all the data for the project consolidated because we have it already. I have it on the admin panel on the back end, I can see it, but then we will make it where it is available publicly. The biggest, probably the highest priority item might be resource allocation. How do we, when we plan project, how do we make sure, because we often use, I mean, the biggest problem in portfolio management is the resource pool because we are sharing common resources. So when every project are planning on having Ali and Nada working on, and then Bill have a project said planning on Ali and Nada working on it, but he doesn't know Ali and Nada are committed on another project full time, we end up in conflict, right? So we need that resource allocation tool is probably one of the most important item in portfolio management. So that might be prioritized. So the task force we will be forming will form, okay, let's design the whole portfolio management. What are all the elements and the module we think we need to have, and then prioritize them because we can develop them incrementally. So, but the biggest unknown is obviously funding. And within a month, hopefully we will launch another crowdfunding campaign. Hopefully we will be able to raise more than we did last time. You know, if we can raise like $200,000-300,000 minimum, then most likely we will be able to work on the portfolio management this year.
Okay. Last not least from my side, at least Munir, I don't know we talked about this or not. I don't remember. Matrix is developing, or actually at the final stages of developing a hybrid framework for one of the IT companies. Now, I call it hybrid framework. It's a framework, it's an auto methodology where predictive versus agile is being combined into a framework. And we have integration points, we have stage gates, we have, you know, Scrum and actually Scrum Ban, if I would say I've combined Scrum Ban and Kanban into something that's workable for the client. Okay, now how could Uruk address such a framework? It's already there.
To me, I mean, without getting into political sensitive discussion, right? The word hybrid is camp. What is hybrid? Hybrid is basically telling us we have a life cycle we follow, right? And then we use the agile incremental. That's exactly what we're building right now.
Yes.
I mean, we already, sorry, let me be clear. The traditional life cycle or the hybrid life cycle is there, right? And with the gate is there because these are the term you mentioned. So I'm
Yes,
picking on
yes.
what you thought. The only difference right now is the ability to do incremental delivery, right? Which could be Scrum or Scrumban. Kanban is already there in Uruk. You can see your task by Kanban, right? And that the only issue is that incremental development piece that's being added now. So within 2 to 3 weeks maximum it should be live.
Great. We
So
have a use case for
yeah,
it.
but right now it's a generic method, right? So now and then we start to add to it. We'll start to add to it, and so at the end of the day, I've been trying to avoid, and maybe because I know I'm not one of those guys who want to play the game, right? Of talking about hybrid. Technically speaking, I can market Uruk as a hybrid model, and I probably gain a lot of customers that way. But I don't feel comfortable with it because I don't believe hybrid is a correct term, because hybrid meaning I am linking like an electric engine and motor engine. They're both engine. But when I say hybrid between waterfall and agile, and for me, neither of them are project management methodologies, then I will be a hypocrite, right? So basically to me, and I posted something yesterday on a discussion, to me, there is only one methodology in project management. If we're talking about life cycle method, we want to manage project from idea to closure. Right? There is only one method, which is a life cycle method with stages and stage gate. I'm not saying it's camp or Uruk, right? At the end of the day, your stages will be different between I mean, obviously, if you're software project versus a technology project versus a facility project or marketing, the stages might be different. But at the end of the day, if we want to manage project properly, and that I think what Bill and I keep talking about sometimes, if we want to really to change the practice of project management, we must have the proper business case. We must have the proper feasibility.
Yes.
We must have clear business requirements. All of this stuff is required regardless what type of project you work on, right? The people who talk about agile project management, and I asked a question yesterday that, okay, the backlog, who created the backlog? Because to them, they start with the backlog is already there, right?
Yeah.
So from that perspective, agile and Scrum and Kanban are about development, right? Not to manage a project. To manage a project effectively, I still need to follow a life cycle model.
You're right.
With stage based. With stage based. Now, people are starting to say, okay, agile is falling, and so let's talk about hybrid. In reality, this is because people are not willing to admit that traditional project management work, and traditional project management is not about waterfall, right? And that's part of the culture change that we need to be able to do it without attacking, right? Without saying hybrid is full of bullshit, excuse my language, right? It's basically, what is a hybrid model? That means you follow a stage model, isn't it? I mean, everybody who talks about hybrid, they talk about following stages.
You're right. It's a stage model. Only when it comes to product development, it is into iterative delivery rather than big bang delivery. As simple as.
Correct.
It does not demolish all the foundation of business case, contracting, procurement, planning, estimations, and because my client is a commercial client and he wants to make $1 out of the product, so there's no way he will just go Scrum and say, I don't know how much it's going to cost me and how much. I don't care when it's going to be ready. They care about it. That's why it has to be rigid enough and flexible enough.
I mean, Ali, just I mean, in all transparency, right now I'm using Uruk, which is based on CAMP, to manage our project. When it comes to the implementation stage, where we are today on my project, on this project right now we are working on today, right? We are in the implementation stage. My development team use Scrum, and they have weekly or bi-weekly sprints. And for example, right now we've been using weekly sprint. Right now, the next increment is going to be 12-day sprint. Just today, this was this morning meeting, right? So it's a sprint, and they use a tool called UTrack, which is basically to manage your sprint. And we are using that on this project. But when? By the implementation team during the implementation stage, not to manage, because Scrum doesn't give me project control. It doesn't give me risk management. I mean, yeah, you can, within the team, we can talk about it, but I'm talking about the whole project, right? And that's where people are missing. And this is where I think one of the investors we're talking to, he said, you guys need to include educational content. So we are trying to include a lot of educational content in Uruk. I did not show you on the platform. We have added something called the Uruk Coach, right? So basically in some places where maybe there is misunderstanding or not clear about what that button means, we put a button, question mark, and then if you click on it, will pop up, will give you an explanation. So we are trying to change the culture of project management, but that requires engaging with our customer. So in your case, going back to your customer, obviously, if they want to develop something from scratch, they're going to basically spend few million dollars, probably, or 6 to 12 months, if not longer. Whereas they can take something exists and then modify it. Now, obviously, if you are, I think you are helping them as a consultant. You're not doing the development. If you're doing the development, then I'll be taking business away from you, right?
I'm not doing development anymore. I'm too old for that.
Yeah. So basically, what you're doing is you're helping them create this model, and then there is an existing model that if we can give them something like this, they can start using it almost immediately, within days or weeks. Okay. And with a minimum initial investment, they don't have to pay any initial investment except the subscription fees, and you get 20–30% of that.
That's the business.
So
yeah, okay, I'm very clear, and Mustafa just left, but we were on the same page. Munir, I'm glad that we developed this framework based on the same foundational discussion that we did.
great. I'm open for anyone else. If you guys, I don't have any restriction. If you want to ask more question, I'm here.
Yeah, one question, please, Munir.
Yes.
What will you do with the client if he wants to make a stage you define before another stage? So in your interpretation, like what we discussed before, the requirements and the strategy. So is there flexibility to do this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, right now, because we don't have, and I say right now because it will be different in the future, right? Right now, what that requires, basically somebody can take a look at our lifecycle model, said, okay, I want to add a stage here, or I want to add a stage here, or like today, actually, I was sharing with the team, right? We have implementation stage, correct?
Yeah.
But technically, if you are working on a facility project, we don't have an implementation stage. We have engineering and construction, or design and build, correct?
Correct.
So now, technically today, what we are giving the team is that, okay, now we need to have an option where the implementation stage, it could be split into 2 stages, design and build, or APC, right? Okay. And, or if you want to use incremental development into 5, 6, 7, 10 increments, right? That flexibility is being created today. And then maybe, this is what I was saying earlier, in 2 to 3 weeks, it will be there. Now, a client come back, said, Munir, and follow up on what Bill, I want to change the name of some of the stages. That's fine. That technically could be done in a day. We just copy the tailored method and we change the name, and assuming they like, I love this tailored method exactly as is, I just like different names. That could be a day customization of work, right? If they come back, somebody said, no, I want to add a stage. Well, that might be 5 days worth of work. I cannot be very accurate right now, maybe 5 to 10 days. To leave some flexibility. So that could be done very quickly now. Now, the idea when we have the tailored method builder is that it could be done even faster. Right?
Okay.
Because every stage follows the same principle. You have a stage deliverable, you have a gate. And actually, some of that I can even create myself on the back end. I haven't showed you guys the back end. I mean, the admin panel is becoming, we continue to improve that as well. And that's becoming quite extensive, where I have a lot of control about a lot of things in the system. Okay, anything else? All right, if not, thank you all. It's great being here. We will be downloading the recording and post it on our YouTube channel as usual, because nothing confidential here. But we wanted to limit the audience. So I will be sharing. We'll be sharing this. And thank you. Have a great time, great evening, great day, wherever you are.
Thank you, Munir.
Thanks. Bye-bye.